Hello, how are you?
Hi, Mathilde. I'm great. Thanks so much. How are you about yourself?
Very well, thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Hi, yeah. Well, my name's Steve Thomas. I'm an environmental engineer, I guess, by education and sort of work experience through life. I first started out in contaminated land, contaminated soil and groundwater systems, where I'd worked for a heavy industry who unfortunately, would have impact on the environment. So I used to, do the analysis and modeling and decontamination of large industrial facilities. From there, I moved on into the mining industry, where obviously I got involved in everything to do, which was environmental. Where I was a corporate manager for Eramet, which is a French company who does nickel out in New Caledonia. And from there, I moved on to gold in West Africa for Australian and Canadian gold mining companies, where I was HSEC, so Health, Safety, Environment, and Community Relations Manager for many years. And
Wonderful.
uh, and recently, last 4 years, commodity trading in Switzerland,
What do you mean by commodity trading in Switzerland? Like a particular market?
working as head of sustainability for a commodity trading company in Switzerland, and I'm specialized in the metals part.
Amazing. So let's dig in a little bit on the metals part. We just had a little chat to prep this webinar, and we spoke about like market trends and market regulations. Could you tell us a little bit about this, please?
The benchmark for me is about 5 years ago when sustainability really came to the forefront of business operations, if you like. Risk managers were getting involved, CFOs with the banks were getting worried about the subject. And so it all kicked off very, very quickly about 5 years ago, roughly, what I saw. And things have evolved, obviously, over the 5 years with regards to legislation, regulations, not only from a legal perspective, but also from an external stakeholders perspective. Like, for example, customers and banks, they have their own sustainability criteria, if you like, to enable them to do business with you. That has evolved a lot over the years. The legislation has evolved in parallel with market forces, because at the end of the day, it's market forces which is moving forward sustainability, believe it or not. I believe the government should be doing more, but what the governments do is they put into place the necessary legislation so that the free market can go forward in developing. Um, Unfortunately, things are moving slower than expected. Current geopolitics have got a lot to do with that. But the next couple of years, I foresee, sustainability is going to pick up in a bigger capacity than it ever did, I believe, from what I'm seeing.
I often hear people talk about commodities, especially people outside of our market or students thinking of going into our markets and thinking that, commodities is basically dirty. I mean, it's great to have this kind of impact and to have sustainability teams and efforts in trading companies. So tell me a little bit about your team, what you did on a daily basis, etc. What does it mean to have a sustainability or ESG team in a trading company?
From a stakeholder perspective, it's pretty much obligatory, as I just stated earlier, especially banks. In a commodity trading company, you have two main clients, internal customers. You have your head of trade finance, who works with the banks, and then you have the CFO, the finance side, right, who's also linked to the banks. Then you have head of trading, right, because their customers want ask this person, oh, what's your sustainability for this consignment which we're buying off you, like this metal, for example, what's the carbon intensity per ton? So you have to respond to all of those. Um, in the past, you could give sort of like broad brush numbers, but today they want specific numbers, right? So you have to dig really deeper into your analysis of your trades.
It seems like the role is very close to the financial parts. I mean, completely understand with regards to the banks, obviously, and also CFO, so trade finance CFO, and the traders. So yeah, really interesting because you're in the center of a business somewhat and somehow.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I do remember 5 years ago when I'm trying to partner internally with my colleagues to put into place sustainability management systems within the company. There was a lot of reticence, if you like, to work with me and to build the team because a trader is a trader. A trader just wants to do his trade and make the biggest margins as possible. Anything else is overhead, right? Um, until the head of trading came up to me and said, Steve, I've got this big major customer who wants to know about X, Y, and Z sustainability. What do I tell him? And I said, well, I told you this a year ago, but it's never too late to work together. Um, so that was a big wake up call for the head of trading, if you like. And yes, and today it is becoming more of a centralized department within the company. It does touch both externally and internally because you've got the sustainability of your own operations as a commodity trading company, right? What is okay? Most of it's just a building with computers and telephones and stuff, but there still is impacts, right? You've got commuting travel, you have your energy, your electricity that you use, your waste that you generate, etc. Which is a very small percentage compared to your supply chain, of course. But yeah, it is now central and becoming more pivotal to moving forward and doing long-term business with certain customers.
Super interesting. Let's get back to your career. What inspired you to pursue a career in commodities?
To be quite honest, it came as a bit of a surprise because I was actually working in West Africa on gold mines, and through contacts with a network, I got a call saying, "Look, Swiss commodity trading sector looking for people like you. Would you be interested?" And at the time, it was perfect timing for me because working in Africa, being separated from your family for quite a bit of time, it was much closer to home. So I had preliminary discussions and obviously looked into more detail what is commodity trading, and I thought, yeah, I can foresee a big need in what I do in this sector, and moving forward into the future, I can see that sector growing. So that was a major aspect which motivated me to pursue further interviews and decide to move to Switzerland to do commodity trading. Yeah.
Amazing. Wonderful. This, yeah, super interesting. So, Steve, you and I were at TXF, an amazing event, and one of the poll questions with a very full audience was which markets do you expect to grow the fastest in the next few years? And so, obviously, oils, metals, ags, etc. How do you see the future with regards to commodities, and which one will be the biggest?
Yeah, yeah, it's always difficult to have the crystal ball, right? At the beginning of TXF, we have economic experts giving the outlook of the commodity trading sector in the next 12 months, and then admitting that what he presented last year was completely false. But it still is a difficult question to answer, I think, to be correct. Obviously, the world's population is increasing, so agri is obviously very important
Mhm.
pillar of commodity trading. Oil and gas, okay, we have a transition period. We want to go green and renewables and use less oil and coal, obviously, which is fair enough, but we still need oil and gas for the transition. And the transition is going to take place in 10 years. No, it's not. It's going to take one or two generations, in my opinion, for the transition to take place. So we're still going to need a lot of oil and gas in the years to come. And again, with population increases and in industrial demand, that's not going to go away. The metals sector, from a European perspective, Europe is in a pretty risky risky place with regards to these aspects because we don't have any mines really in Europe. We've got a few. Romania's got some. Tin is going to be reopened in Cornwall in South England, by the way. That was in the news the other week. Um, the mining of tin in Cornwall dates back thousands of years, apparently. And the ancient Greeks used to do business with the tin industry in southern England back in the day, from what I studied at school, anyway. Um, Yeah, so there's not much metals which we extract in Europe. So we're dependent on supply from outside of our countries, right? Which is other continents like Asia, Africa, and South America. Critical minerals is crucial just for the national and commercial security of your country. If we can't get access to that or manage it or put into place management systems to ensure the long-term delivery of such materials, then it's going to be a risky business for us as a competing economic bloc. So TXF, it was a 50-50. I think metals just edged it a little bit, but metals appears to be an area which will be increasing in business capacity in the next few years.
That's something that I feel as well in hiring trends is yeah, people are very keen on metals at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you
Obviously,
take
oil and
China.
gas as always, but
Yeah,
metals has picked up drastically.
absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of risk involved there, right? Oil and gas is, we have pipelines, it's been around for many, many decades. The infrastructure's there. Okay, geopolitics aside, we can get out, extract it, and ship it and transport it easily. It's all there in place. Whereas metals is more fragmented, right? With regards
Exactly.
to there's a mine here, there's a mine here, but for mine it's 3,000 kilometers by road to get to the sea to ship it. This type of thing will be further developed, I think, in the foreseeable future. Let's take Chile, for example. I worked with a few suppliers out of Chile, and the truck would have to travel 2,000 kilometers to get to the port. Right, 2,000 kilometers of trucks burning diesel and putting CO2 into the atmosphere just to get the ore to port. Right, so I can
Yeah.
foresee, for example, with maybe international aid and collaboration, we can maybe build railway systems because Chile is a very long country. Um,
Mhm.
and if you take a Guinea in Africa, there's a lot of rail lines in place for the bauxite to get the bauxite to ports already. And Guinea's a much smaller country, so this type of thing I can see being developed.
It's so interesting how all the commodities are so different and they're linked in every single way. So, and the way you
Yeah,
trade, obviously, in metals is completely different to the way you would trade with crude oil, for example.
yeah.
And yet, it's boiling of opportunities in most of the commodities.
The boiling point of most metals is quite high, but it is getting hot.
Yeah. And by the way, can we talk a little bit about like geopolitics and what your thoughts are on geopolitics at the moment? And perhaps we can even talk about ESG and geopolitics.
Yeah. ESG sustainability has taken a little bit of, let's say, on the back burner over the last 24 months because of the geopolitics, which is currently in place at the moment. The EU, the UK, Switzerland, China, and other Asian countries are now coming on board to put into place, a long-term sustainable management system with regards to sustainability. Um, so geopolitics does not appear to be hindering the advancement of governmental initiatives towards developing sustainability. However, in the private sector, the geopolitics, the uncertainty, fragmented business vision, how is it going to affect the profit margins, the P&L, and things like that, has made sustainability a little bit stagnant over the last few years. However, because commodity trading companies and not just or any other international commercial sectors realize that just because geopolitics is there doesn't mean to say that we can't still do business and make a profit, right? So the writing is now on the wall that, yeah, sustainability is not really that affected by geopolitics either. And the boat has sailed with regard, especially the EU and all the legislation that exists. So I don't think that geopolitics has or will have a significant pillar uh, result on sustainability. I don't think so.
So I've got a question with regards to like monetizing sustainability. Is there any way of maybe saving on fines or actually making money with ESG or sustainability?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. It's the triple bottom line. It's difficult to put a monetary value to your sustainable performance because there's a lot of external factors involved with regards to your external banks or customers, for example, because each one has a different level of expectation or requirements with regards to sustainability. So you can have a lower level of sustainability for one external stakeholder and a higher one for another one, um, which makes it a little bit difficult to standardize, if you like. And talking about standardization, that's another thing. All the standards that exist all around the world for sustainability are slowly coming together to be rationalized so that it can work internationally. Um, so yeah, I think that that's pretty much the situation at the moment.
This brings us to a close. I'd like to ask one last question. What piece of advice would you give to yourself at the age of 20?
Oh, tomorrow, geez. I've seen the color of my hair. I would say focus on what you want to do and don't be deterred and just follow it. And because everything is possible, you just put your effort in and you'll get where you want to get to.
That's amazing. Wow, super powerful. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thanks for joining the webinar and look forward to seeing you soon.
Likewise, thank you so much, Mathilde.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.